Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. How are you guys doing today? You hanging in there? I commented about this on my Peter Monn channel, and I said something about this out there. But since I talk a lot on this channel about addiction and recovery, I wanted to talk about the fact that I know a lot of people out there go to meetings. I've received a lot of comments on this video, or on this channel, and on my vlog. From people saying that thank you for my videos because they're in recovery and this is helping them hang in there during this tough time and all of that. I also want to say, or I want to say thank you for that, but I want to say, you know, there are great resources online. I know in my town, several friends of mine have started online meetings. A lot of people are starting online meetings for every 12-step program that is out there. So all you have to do is call your local office and they can connect you for whatever 12-step program, whatever 12-step program you go to. I just sped through a BookTube video. I just went through it and I was like, oh. Anyway, whatever 12-step program you're in, you can call your local office and they will connect you with resources in your area, because a lot of meetings right now are closed down because of what's going on for social distancing. And there are online meetings that are going on literally all day long. So you can still stay connected. I think this is a really, really difficult time for people that are in early sobriety. I mean, for all of us, it's difficult, right? But for people that are in early sobriety, I was talking to my good GD Tanya last night. I'm so thankful for her and my sponsor, you know, of having some other recovery people to be able to talk to on a daily basis, as well as a couple of my other friends. But I was talking to her and I said, I just can't even imagine right now, like, trying to be sober in my first 30 days and going through all of this, you know, and it would be really, really hard. So just know, for those of you out there in early sobriety, for any of you out there in sobriety, and any of you out there, period, I'm thinking of you and I'm praying for you. But for my sisters and brothers in recovery out there, my sober sisters and brothers, like I said on my other channel, stay connected, share support in the comment section below. If you want to share something in there that you need support from or you need help from, put it in the comment section below, and maybe we can be kind and help one another out there. And just say, hey, I'm thinking of you today, or I'm sending a prayer your way, or some positivity for those of you that don't believe in prayers and whatever. So anyway, ask for what you need and put it in the comment section below. I love you guys, and we're going to start our meditation. She thought I was going to end it right there at 2 minutes and 32 seconds, didn't you? No. All right, I brought out 4 meditation books today, and I need some positivity today, as I think many of us do. So let's start with the daily book of positive quotations by Linda Picone. I believe it is the 19th. Okay, so hold on a second. So Tuesday was the 17th, Wednesday was the 18th, Thursday's the 19th. Okay. Do you ever do this? Like when you have to, like, this is L left. I'm not that bad, I really swear I'm not. But like I do like forget things sometimes, like the date. Okay, and I have to like count in my head, and I count on my fingers. Okay, March 19th. Making decisions. Never cut a tree down in the wintertime. Never make a negative decision in the low time. Never make your most important decisions when you are in your worst moods. Wait. Be patient. The storm will pass. The spring will come. Robert H. Schuller. I think Robert Schuller is that pastor that used to do the Crystal Cathedral on TV, right? Wait, I don't know, but like I remember when I was a little kid, if like we didn't want to go, by we, those were the Sundays that my dad was like, yeah, I don't feel like driving downtown to church today, when I was with him for the weekend at his apartment. And he would make me sit there while we like ate breakfast, and I had to watch the church on that big, huge Crystal Cathedral. That was like, if we didn't go to church, we had to watch that. Anyway, I don't remember him watching it. I remember me having to sit there and watch it. When things are going wrong, we want to change them right away. So we buy something that we don't really need, or we throw away something that we do really need, or we decline an opportunity because we're afraid that something else might go wrong, or we make the same mistake again, thinking we'll do better this time. If I'm in a bad mood, I will put off making important decisions until my outlook and judgment improve. I think it's a great meditation. You know, in early sobriety, they tell us not to make any major decisions until the first year is over, because, you know, we're really maybe like not thinking clearly, and at that point, you know, and that, like, you know, I think a lot of times we are often in early sobriety even, you know, we think to ourselves, like, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, or, you know, whatever. And we like want to make these drastic changes. And when you are going through drastic changes in your life, period, you know, I've heard this with people that have severe weight loss too. Like, not that that's a bad thing, but like people that have had, you know, certain kinds of like the bariatric surgery and stuff. I've heard a lot of stories about this from friends of mine that like, once they like had lost a lot of weight, they all of a sudden were looking at the world in a new way. It's like they wanted to get out of relationships, they wanted to move towns, they wanted to change all this kind of stuff. And And I totally get that. You know, like I got like a year of sobriety underneath me and I was ready to challenge the world. I really was, you know? And I think that's great that we're finding our confidence again, you know? But maybe like run that by somebody too. You know, even if you're not in recovery and you don't have a sponsor or whatever, pick a close friend, you know? And say, hey, I'm thinking about making this decision. Like, what do you think? And like running it by them. I also think that it's important that we don't always just listen to other people too and allow them to make our choices for us. You know what I mean? I think it's great that I had role models that said to me, you know, wait for being sober for a year, or that I've ran things by like my sponsor when I thought I want to make this major decision in my life, you know, and she'll be like, okay, let's sit on that for a weekend, you know, or let's, you know, write it down what you want and then let's think about it for a week. And then if next week you don't feel any different, sure, let's do that. I often do that with purchases. Like I just did it with this Keurig. I've been wanting this Keurig so bad that I just reviewed it on my review channel. And I've been wanting it so bad and I kind of just like waited and waited and waited and waited, you know, and then like finally I like did my research and I found out which one I wanted and I bought the one that I wanted. But that's typically how I am on a purchase like that. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm just stupid and I go buy something I don't need. But most of my life, I'm like that. Like I really think things through these days. And I think about, you know, like, especially if it's a major decision. I can't really think of a huge major decision that I've had to make recently. But yeah, I think, you know, for all of us, I think we should think those things through. You know, do a pro-con list if you have to. Just like write down like what are the pros and what are the cons of this decision if I make it, you know, and don't jump into anything. In recovery, what my sponsor also says to me is pray on it, and she'll say, you know, pray on it and see if an answer comes. And if you're a spiritual person, then that, you know, that will apply to you as well. But I also think that you can like put something out there into the universe, you know, and just like feeling like, okay, what is my gut telling me? What is the universe telling me to do in this situation? I'm not telling you to go on your gut, but I'm telling you that sometimes I think we know more inside of us than we want to admit what the right thing to do is, you know, or what the right decision is in a hard situation. So don't ever move on anything too fast, you know, think things through. All right, the next meditation, where does the best meditation lie? Right here with Forgiving and Moving On, Daily Affirmations for Forgiving and Moving On, Powerful Inspiration for Personal Change by T.N. Dayton, PhD. I knew it was something. Okay. Oh God, it said May 16th. I wish it's cold weather. It's like cold and rainy. It was supposed to be 65 today. March 19th, amends. This will be a good one. Today I understand the true meaning of amends. An amends is not to make the other person feel good or to make a ruptured relationship suddenly fine. It is not an effective way of getting what I want. An amends is an attempt to free my mind, my own mind, and heart of a burden that I no longer wish to carry. It is a recognition of my commitment to my own emotional sobriety. When I make an amends to someone with whom I need to clear out some unfinished business, I gracefully disengage myself from the tangled mass of reciprocal resentment. How my amends will be received is not up to me to control. The amends I make are for myself. Another person's response is out of my jurisdiction. An amends is made to free me. Forgiveness is the answer to the child's dream of a miracle by which what is broken is made whole again, what is soiled is again made clean. And I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. Dag Hammarskjöld. Oh God, I mean, I could talk for hours on here about amends, especially as a person in recovery. You know, it's our 8th and 9th step, and the whole process of amends. I will say that I think that the direction I want to go and talking about it today, maybe I'll do a whole nother video on it, you know, is that making an amends is, like when you think about an amendment to a constitution, it's a change, right? And so an amends is basically taking ownership of how you have wronged somebody or some situation, taking ownership over it and saying this won't happen again. It is not saying I'm sorry. And you know, I would say on my videos for a long time, like my dad used to say to me when I was growing up, like when I would say I'm sorry to him, he would say, I don't want to hear you say I'm sorry because all you mean by that is forget what I just did, right? So when I was growing up, I was taught that sorry just doesn't mean anything because I would just say, oh, I'm sorry, oh, I'm sorry, oh, you know, like I totaled my car, I'm sorry, you know, like, oh, I got in 4 hours late and I made you worry all night long, I'm sorry, you know, like, oh, you had to come bail me out of jail, I'm sorry, you know, it was just that, forget what I just did. There was no ownership taken in it whatsoever. Now, I will tell you something I've learned in the last 2 years, year and a half, is that there are people out there that the language of I'm sorry means something to them. And in those situations, they need to hear that. That means something to them. I'm sorry to them does not mean what it meant to my father. To my father, it meant forget what I just did. But to other people, when you say I'm sorry to them, what that means is I take ownership, I wronged you, and it wasn't your fault. And people deserve to hear that. And I have told several people in the last couple years, I'm sorry. They needed to hear that, you know? And I do say I'm sorry. Like I do, I mean, like if I'm bumping into somebody, I don't, you know, in the grocery store, I don't go, let me make amends to you. I was in the wrong. Okay, like that's taking it too. I say I'm sorry, right? Like, and I do say I'm sorry about mistakes that I make. I am sorry, you know? And I almost feel like an amends is almost kind of a little bit different. It's deeper than that. It's, I think for an ongoing kind of thing to some degree, you know? But I'm not big on I'm sorry's, and I never have been, you know? I wasn't sorry when I said I was sorry, you know? I'm talking like before I got sober. Until I started learning the amends process and putting down on pen and paper what I had done, how I had affected other people, you know, what my part in that was, what I needed to take responsibility for, because sometimes I want to go into situations and I want to take responsibility for the whole thing, when I might only have responsibility for one or two parts. I have called my sponsor before and said I want to make amends for this, and she said, that's not yours to make amends for. We did inventory on that relationship, and you don't own that part of it. And you're not going to go in there and just say, you know, I'm sorry, I take responsibility for this, and I was wrong, just because you want to clean up the whole mess. Because because one of your character defects is that you like to go in and try to clean up the whole mess, right? Like you want to fix everything. And she was like, and you can't do that. The other thing that she's asked me in the past is when I wanted to make amends, because she's had me sit on an amends for a while. Like, well, she'll say, it's not the time. It's not the time. Until you can go into it with a clear heart and a clear head and you have nothing to gain from this, you are not making this amends. And I had to make an amends recently, and she said to me, I was talking to her on the phone about the amends, of which I had been doing inventory on, and she said to me, what's your motive about this amends? Are you making this amends for you, or are you making it for the other person? Like, if you're doing it because you want to do what's the right thing to do, and you want to, you know, clear the wreckage of your past, then that's fine. But if you're doing this because you just want to feel better about the situation, because you're not ready to make this amends yet. And we processed it, and she was like, okay, I think you are ready to make this amends. But, you know, I looked back on my past amends, and I was like, there have been situations where I just wanted to feel better about situations. I mean, from years ago, you know? So the other thing is that, like, once you've made an amends to somebody, you can't come back to somebody 15 times. I have seen a lot of damage occur with people in recovery where somebody will get sober, they'll work their steps, they'll make amends, they'll go back out, they'll get sober, they'll work their steps, they'll make amends, and they made amends for like 4 times to like their parents or something, right? And it's like, at some point, I think that doesn't mean anything anymore, you know? I'm grateful that that's not my story, and I want people to get sober and continue to try again, you know? I will say this too. This is just my personal opinion, my personal experience, that I have seen, you know, like there's this kind of like underlying idea that you truly are like in a 12-step program once you've worked your 4th and 5th step, which is doing inventory and sharing it with somebody else. I have seen a lot of people that get stuck on not making amends, and that greatly affects them, right? That we really do have to like clean the wreckage of our past, of who we are, you know? And there was a situation, I actually just shared about this on my vlog not too long ago. I shared it on here too, about a teacher that I had. I usually get real emotional when I share the story, but I probably won't today. Oh, I don't know. I don't feel like sharing. I'm like, do I want to share it? Do I not want to share it? Anyway, I just drove by it in my vlog and I showed it, but I had this professor, and the short of it is, because I think I just shared it on here not too long ago, but anyway, she basically kicked me out of class when I was in her Victorian literature class because I was showing up drunk, if I even showed up, right? And I had worked on this paper, and it was like a 25-page paper, something ridiculous. I don't know how long, but I was up all night long writing this paper on Middlemarch by George Eliot. I don't even remember any of this, okay? And I was drunk, like I had been drinking while I was doing it. And so she stood at the door and she said, Peter, I can't have you come in. People, like other students, have asked me to have you not come back because you smell like alcohol when you come in the classroom. I was so upset, right? And I didn't cuss her out or anything. I was just like, whatever. Like, I just kind of laughed. I can't remember what I said. But flash forward 10 years, right? I'm working in a treatment facility, and I'm a counselor, and I'm sober, working a 12-step program. And who do I bump into at Starbucks? And it was kind of like this God moment thing, right? Because I was driving my ex's car, and his window didn't roll down, so I couldn't drive through the drive-thru, so I had to go inside to get coffee when I was coming out. So I saw her and she was in front of me and she was getting a pencil for the crossword puzzle. I was like, oh my God. And she looked exactly the same. And I was like, oh my God, that's Dr. So-and-so, right? So I went up to her and like as I was leaving, she like turned around to get another pencil or something. And her pencil wasn't sharpened or something. I can't remember. And the guy was like giving her a hard time. I was like, dude, just sharpen her pencil. You know, like I said something like that. And she kind of was like, thanks. And she looked up at me and she kind of like double checked for a second. And she was like, when I was walking out, she like kind of stopped me and she just looked at me and she was like, Peter. And I was like, I am going to get emotional telling the story. And I was like, and I said her name and I was like, how do you ever remember me? And she was like, I'll never forget you. She was like, that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do that day, you know? And she said, how are you doing? And I said, you know, I'm really, really good. I've been sober like 10 years. I don't know, 10 or 12 years at the time. And I said, I'm a counselor and I work in a treatment facility and I'm helping other people. And she gave me a big hug and she said, you know, we as teachers, we don't often get to hear what happens to our students. And she said, I'm so thankful that I ran into you and I got to hear what you said to me. And I made amends for my behavior in the classroom that day. I, you know, told her, I said, I need to take responsibility for how I was, and I'm sorry for disrupting your classroom and everybody else's. And I said, you know, you did something to me that day that like really a lot of people weren't willing to do, which was set limits and boundaries for me. And she gave me a big hug, and she looked at me and she said, you have a good life. And I said, thanks, you too. And I'll probably never see her again. I've never seen her since. I probably will never see her again. And that was such a God moment for me. Like I needed to clean up that moment, you know? And I think about that, you know, like just these moments in time that I've been offered for just total amazement and grace of the world, you know, and I hope she's still doing good out there. I do. But anyway, you know, that's what an amends is. An amends is showing somebody, listen, I'm not the same person I was, you know. I think most of you that watch my videos know that like I've really worked on myself in the last couple of years and I've really tried to be a better person than I had been before and really think about the language that I use when I'm speaking to people and taking responsibility for my actions and being a changed person, you know, and I like to think that today if, you know, somebody came back, they would say, you know, you really have learned from these things. I feel like I have. I feel like I continue to on a daily basis. And I think that I'm so thankful for the opportunity that was presented to me for change, you know. At that time, my sponsor would say things to me like, this is an opportunity for growth and this is an opportunity for change. And I would say, this doesn't feel like that. This is painful. And she'd say, well, growing pains hurt, you know, and you've got a lot to work on. And I'm so thankful that I had somebody that just kept pushing me, you know, to be the best version of myself that I possibly can be. And my husband and my, you know, best friend, I'm so thankful for them. And all of you that have continued to watch throughout the ride, you know, and I'm not stopping yet. Like I'm not going anywhere. You know, I continue to get up every day and think to myself, what do I need to work on today? How can I be a better version of myself on a daily basis? Somebody commented yesterday and they said on the video, they said, so my takeaway is that every day that I wake up, I need to work on being the best version of myself today. Yes, that's exactly it. That's the takeaway. I thought that was fantastic when they said that, when you said that, I don't know who said it, but I was like, oh my God, that's like so simple and innocent, but yes, that's the takeaway. Every day that we wake up, every single day that we wake up is an opportunity to be the best person that we can possibly be today. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Stay safe and stay healthy. I love you.